When we think about innovation, our minds usually jump to some flashy new tech or a big corporate breakthrough. But sometimes, the most revolutionary ideas pop up in the places you'd least expect them, like a university classroom. And today, we're talking about one of those, a new kind of crypto token that's not about profit, but about participation.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It sounds a little wild, doesn't it? What if you could get a digital token just for raising your hand or for turning your homework in on time? That's the core idea we're digging into, an experiment in motivation that could totally change the dynamic between teachers and their students. But before we can even get into the how of all this, we really need to understand the why. See, this whole idea didn't just come out of thin air. It was born from a very real, very frustrating problem that educators are facing every day, especially in places like Vietnam.
To really get it, you have to picture the situation for university lecturers there. They're dealing with heavy workloads, salaries that are pretty low compared to other fields, and their job satisfaction is everything when it comes to providing a good education. And one of the biggest things that drags that satisfaction down? A classroom full of passive students who just aren't engaged.
And this isn't just a feeling they have, you can see it in the data. When researchers asked teachers how many students show up for free help, like office hours, more than half of them, 54%, said they see 6 or fewer students the entire semester. That's a huge sign that students just aren't taking those extra steps. So the real question becomes, how do you fix that?
Well, this is where that crypto token idea comes back into the picture. The proposed solution is something called an NCCT. So let's break down what that actually is.
The NCCT stands for Novel Cryptocurrency Token. And the first thing you need to know is this is not Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's not about getting rich. It's a special purpose token made just for school. Think of it less like money and more like, well, like a supercharged digital gold star for university students. And here's how it would actually work in the classroom. It's a really simple, closed loop. First, the teacher sets a goal. Something like ask a thoughtful question. Second, a student does it. Third, boom, the teacher awards them with these NCT tokens. And fourth, and this is the key part, the student can then spend those tokens on academic perks, like maybe getting a chance to retake a quiz.
So the big question is, would students even care? Well, when they were asked about it in an earlier study, the response was just overwhelming. A massive 89% said that yes, a system like this would absolutely motivate them to study more. So it seems like the student side of the equation is a done deal.
But that's only half the story, right? Because a system like this takes effort from the teachers to run it. It's one thing for students to want rewards, but it's a whole other thing for already overworked educators to add something new to their plate. So the big question this new research wanted to answer was, would the teachers even be on board? To find out, the researchers went directly to the source, university lecturers in Vietnam. They laid out the whole idea and just asked them what they thought. And the results? Well, they were pretty fascinating. So here's the headline number. A clear majority, 57% of the teachers they talked to, said they were either interested or very interested in using this NCCT system. So it's not just the students who are into it, most of the teachers are too. They see the potential of a brand new tool to get their students fired up.
So what exactly did they want to motivate? Well, the top 3 things were all about preparation and participation, doing homework, actually preparing before class, and then actively asking and answering questions in class. Basically, they want to turn passive listeners into active learners.
And this quote from a lecturer with over a decade of experience just nails it. It's not about just getting the right answers on a test. It's about building an environment where there's real discussion and curiosity. It's about making the classroom feel alive again. But here's where things get really interesting and a little more complex. The study found that what a teacher wants to motivate isn't set in stone. It actually changes a lot, depending on how long they've been teaching. So if you look at teachers who are pretty new to the job, with about 0 to 6 years of experience, motivating things like independent research or even just showing up to class wasn't on their radar. In fact, 0% of them listed those as a priority. Their focus was clearly somewhere else. But then, look what happens to mid-career teachers, those with 6 to 10 years under their belt. The priorities do a complete 180. A full 100% of them wanted to motivate attendance. It's like they've learned that you can't teach an empty chair. And at the same time, independent research suddenly becomes a key goal for half of them. And then there's another shift. The most experienced teachers, the veterans with over 16 years on the job, they care immensely about independent research. 86% of them prioritize it. But attendance, the importance they place on it drops way back down to just 14%. Maybe, after years in the classroom, they figured that at the university level, the drive to learn has to come from the student, not from a roll call.
Now, all of this is really insightful stuff, but the single most surprising discovery from this whole study has to do with what motivates the teachers. And I'm going to bet it's not what you're thinking.
Get this, only 18%, a tiny fraction, of the teachers said it was important for these tokens to have any real-world monetary value. For them. They weren't looking at this as a way to make some extra cash. That wasn't the point at all.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. For these teachers, the goal isn't to earn some crypto. The goal is to change student behavior. And the reward isn't money, it's a more engaged, more enjoyable, and just plain better classroom experience. The motivation is totally tied to their profession.
This one quote just says it all. When they were asked what they would do with any tokens they might get from students, say, for some extra help, one teacher gave the perfect answer. They just use them as rewards for other students. It creates this amazing self-sustaining cycle of motivation right there in the classroom.
So, let's just pull this all together. The big takeaway here is that the value of this token is purely motivational. It's not about money. It's about creating a self-contained academic reward system where the prize for doing well is the chance to do even better. It proves that teachers are really driven by seeing their students succeed, not by personal profit. And, as a nice little bonus, keeping real money out of it neatly avoids any legal headaches with cryptocurrency laws.
And that kind of leaves us with a final big thought. This whole experiment is happening at a university in Vietnam, sure, but the implications are universal. If a reward can be incredibly powerful without having any actual cash value, what does that say about our own motivations? What are the tokens we all work for in our own lives, and are they really the ones that truly matter?